Oil companies have always been a feature on the F1 grid, but beyond the stickers on the cars, the lubricant manufacturers often have a deep technical relationship with the team that extends far beyond a simple commercial relationship. So let's take a look at each of the teams on the current grid, their sponsor, and the oil in their engine. I'm going to do these in reverse order from the 2022 constructors standings, starting with one of the most recognizable oil brands in golf and their partnership with Williams F1. Golf has a fascinating history in motorsports dating back to its original iconic involvement in the Ford GT40 program through JW Automotive. Its presence in the endurance racing scene then shifted to Porsche with the classic 917, which featured heavily as Steve McQueen's race car in what is widely considered the greatest racing movie of all time, Le Mans. Golf-sponsored teams have a tradition of taking on the Golf livery even for selected race events, with Williams using the iconic look in 2023's Singapore, Japan, and Qatar Grand Prix. The fan favourite look makes Golf a unique sponsor on the grid, as there aren't that many non-title sponsors that get a chance to influence the overall look of a team's car. Although it's not the largest oil company on the list, it's hard to think of an engine oil brand that has more cultural impact than Golf. At the start of the 2022 season, AlphaTauri announced a multi-year deal with German brand Ravenol as its official lubricant partner. Ravenol is a brand that has a bit of a cult following, especially among viewers of this channel, and its branding features on the nose of the AlphaTauri F1 car. Casual observers of F1 might be a little surprised to hear that it's Ravenol as the oil partner, when another motor oil brand features so prominently on the rear wing. At the start of the 2023 season, it was announced that Polish company Orlen would be a principal team partner, having previously sponsored the Williams F1 and Alfa Romeo teams. Haas, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, and unknown. The Haas, Alfa Romeo, and McLaren F1 teams are notable on this list as not appearing to have any relationship with an oil company, whether in a technical or a commercial capacity. Both Haas and Alfa Romeo run Ferrari power units, so it's probable that they're both using a Shell engine oil under the hood, although the amount of technical support available to them is likely to be drastically less than the Ferrari works team. With Alfa Romeo becoming the Audi works team in 2026, coinciding with the new engine regulations, there could be some changes in this department, given that Castrol has long been Audi's partner in the World Endurance Championship. McLaren ended its relationship with Golf last year after the oil company switched its sponsorship to the Williams F1 team. This leaves McLaren without an oil partner for the first time in a while, so the default oil is likely a Petronas formulation used in the same Mercedes power unit as in the Mercedes works team. What makes it slightly confusing is that at the start of 2023, Golf and McLaren Automotive announced a renewal of their partnership, which sees Golf providing the factory fill lubricants for McLaren road cars, and McLaren even makes their vehicles available in a Golf livery paint job from the factory. For a price, of course. Aston Martin and Valvoline. Aston Martin is one of the most unique cases where an oil sponsor has appeared mid-season. Going back to the beginning of the 2022 season, Saudi Aramco came on board as a title sponsor, with the team's full title being the Aston Martin Aramco Cognizant F1 team. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But in March of 2023, Aramco completed its acquisition of Valvoline, giving it a downstream consumer offering. It seemed only a matter of time until Valvoline branding featured on the Aston Martin Formula One car, and sure enough, in the middle of the F1 season, Valvoline was announced as the official engine oil partner for the team. Aston Martin team principal Mike Crack said at the time, "Everyone at the Aston Martin Aramco Cognizant F1 team is delighted to welcome Valvoline Global as our official lubricant partner. From this weekend's British Grand Prix, Valvoline Global will provide race-proven lubricants for our AMR23 to help drive performance." Now, these press releases tend to be very carefully worded, and the term provide race-proven lubricants for our AMR23 leaves the door open to Valvoline acquiring another brand's oil on behalf of Aston Martin for the moment before developing custom formulations once their engine supply change occurs in 2026. And Castrol. The Alpine team, formerly named Renault F1, is as French as the F1 grid gets. From its all-French driver lineup in 2023 to its French-inspired livery and French ownership, the team is probably the closest thing that the F1 grid has to a national team, which makes the relationship with Castrol a little bit surprising. The Renault and Renault-powered teams of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s prominently featured ELF and later Total branding, but in 2017 the team switched partnerships to a relationship with BP Castrol. With the team not supplying customer engines to any other teams on the grid this year, this makes the partnership a rather exclusive one. Mercedes and Petronas. If there is ever an example of a motorsports partnership catapulting a brand into the public consciousness, it's this one. Petronas was a relatively unknown oil brand outside of Malaysia prior to its partnership with Mercedes F1 in 2010. But the brand recognition that it has garnered through the championship domination of the Mercedes F1 team is nothing short of spectacular. The fact that Petronas was an early title sponsor has given it even more technical credibility, and the success has rubbed off onto its oil brand. The company now has a truly global reach, and the rumored $75 million it pays per season for the privilege is probably a great investment. Despite this, Petronas products don't seem to have bled over into a commercial relationship with the Mercedes group. I can't think of a region in the world where Petronas is the factory fill for Mercedes vehicles. There's actually a second relationship that's worth noting. Ineos, which features prominently on the Mercedes rear wing, is a petrochemicals company that actually supplies components into the lubricants industry. While it isn't consumer-facing, Ineos oligomers are the raw feedstock that makes up synthetic base oils. This is one example of a company that's really just paying for the access that F1 sponsorship brings, rather than directly advertising to its customer base. Ferrari and Shell. Now, the technical partnership between Shell and Ferrari is the oldest one on the F1 grid, and it goes right back to the inaugural F1 World Championship race in 1950. If there's an oil that's more synonymous with a car OEM, I'm yet to come across it. Now, over the years, Shell has actually leveraged this partnership to strengthen both its V-Power and Helix brands into consumer juggernauts. So, while the cost of entry might be quite steep, so too are the rewards. Now, Shell Helix Ultra is the factory fill for every Ferrari that leaves Maranello, and Shell engine oils also powered Ferrari's return to the world endurance racing circuit, with Ferrari taking out Le Mans in its first attempt back in the category. With so many world titles under their belt, this is the most successful partnership on the grid. Red Bull and Mobil. Mobil left its long-standing technical partnership with McLaren in 2017 after a dismal few years saw the British team sink to the bottom of the grid. Now, that was partially thanks to an underpowered Honda engine. So when the Japanese engine manufacturer became Red Bull's engine supplier, there were fears that this team would see a similar downward spiral. As it transpired, no one need have worried, with the team consistently improving year on year until its dramatic Drivers' Championship win in 2021, followed by complete dominance in the 2022 and 2023 seasons. Of course, the team did so with engines officially manufactured by Red Bull powertrains, following Honda's second impeccably timed exit from Formula One, having previously and famously sold its works team to Ross Brawn for Jensen's Button Championship in 2009. In 2023, it was announced that Ford would partner with Red Bull from the 2026 season, putting an end to speculation that Porsche would make a return to the grid by buying a stake in Red Bull powertrains. In an alternative universe, this would have been a perfect pairing for Mobil, whose extensive 25-year technical partnership with Porsche includes its Endurance Championship team, Formula E, Porsche Super Cup, and factory fill products. Mobil engineers were extensively involved in the development of Porsche's F1 engine candidate, so it remains to be seen whether any of this development makes its way into the Audi F1 team, which is, of course, Porsche's sister company in the VW group. So there you have it, a roundup of all the F1 teams and their respective oil brands. Is there anything I missed out? If so, leave a comment and I'll do a follow-up video in the new year. For a more technical look at F1 racing oils, check out my interview with Mobil's head of motorsport, or my other interview with Lakespeed Jr. from Total Seal Piston Rings.